Welcome to Mindscape Expansion. Today I'm thrilled to have Bukola Osuntuyi with us. Bukola is a tech startup operations partner and strategic business advisor with over a decade of experience leading and scaling operations across startups in Africa and the UK. She helps early stage founders build the structures, systems, and processes their startup needs to run smoothly and grow with confidence. From designing workflows to keeping teams aligned, Bukola makes sure nothing important slips through the cracks. She is also the founder and host of Business Backstage, a podcast that demystifies the behind the scene of high growth startups, spotlighting real discussions, systems, and leadership shifts. Today we will dive into her personal journey, the role of AI in operations, tips for scaling globally, building inclusive teams, and practical steps for new founders. Bukola, you went from theater and teaching into startup operations. Let's start there. What made you switch from teaching and theater to operations and business management?
It's funny. Thank you very much, first of all, for having me on the podcast. I'm really excited to be here. But it's funny that you mentioned teaching because that was my first job. So I was a literature teacher in the secondary school, senior secondary school, and then I was also doing a second job as a personal assistant to the CEO of an event planning company. But not long after that, I switched to the tech industry and I started to work in an e-commerce company in Nigeria called Konga. It was one of the largest e-commerce companies in Africa at the time. And that was the beginning of my journey in operations management. So of course, I started to work in fields like customer service, the contact center, and then I became supervisor for dispute resolution. I went to emails. I went to customer experience training. I was also training the operations management staff, also customer experience and retention management. So that really set the foundation for me. And I was able to work with cross-functional teams. I moved from there to another e-commerce company in the UK here that had stores on Amazon. So I was the senior manager for the global operations. I was in charge of monitoring all of the operations across different countries. So we're talking about supply chain management, logistics, marketing and campaigns, the finance bit of it, just in time inventory, all of that I was managing. So those things really helped me to set that foundation for operations. So I decided to switch as well to the fintech industry. So I moved from retail to fintech. And then that also set me up for operations on a deeper level, managing teams, building teams from scratch, working on financial policy documents. So those things really helped me, especially because I was also playing to my strengths. I am somebody who naturally loves to solve problems. And if you're an operations professional, that is one of the things that you must do. So I was solving problems even beyond my scope of work. And that enabled me to get promoted to higher levels like director of operations. And I thought that it would be great for me to actually pursue that career fully in operations management. And also because during COVID in 2020, of course, that changed the scope of work for people. We now started to see remote work. And then I decided to check the trends of work. What kind of roles are likely to succeed, say, in the next 5 to 10 years? And operations management was one of them. So I said, fine, I'm already doing that. So I just needed to think about how to make my career very strategic in a way that I would grow.
Okay, was there a particular moment that you decided that I want to go full in operations?
Yes, that was in 2020.
Okay, the COVID one. Okay.
During COVID. So a lot of people were working from home, and then we started to see how technology was helping to make operations a lot efficient. And because I'm always thinking about the future, and that was when I also did the research and I saw that, okay, operations will be a very good field to focus in. That's when I started to build my career fully in that line of operations.
Cool. Okay, so what's the one simple process you set up early on that made the biggest difference later?
One simple process.
That you set up early on that made a big difference later on?
Would that be for businesses or my career?
Your career.
My career.
Yes.
That was mentorship. Yes, mentorship. Even though it wasn't like a process, but just enabling me to learn from other people, even though I did not meet them personally to say, I want you to be my mentor, but just feeding off of the content of professionals, people that have gone ahead of me, people that I would like to be like in the future. Of course, I read their books, I listened to their content, whether it's podcast or those type of things. It helped to set the right foundations for how I should lead teams, how I should build teams. And I would say one of the things that I also did was learning to understand my managers. And I think that some people don't really do that. They're just working with their managers, just doing whatever it is that the manager is telling them to do. But when you really understand how your manager likes to work, what their strengths are, and make sure that you're somebody that they can depend on. Those are the things that helped to set me up for success, even when I was not even really conscious about it. And so I would play to my strengths, but at the same time, I would also think about what is my manager likely thinking about? What would they likely ask me of? And I would make sure I do those things before I reach out to them. So setting up those mental processes in my head really helped me to move higher in my career.
Okay, so you basically put yourself in their shoes and think that how will they think and
Exactly. Being very proactive. What are they likely to need? Okay, what is the business going through right now? And is there anything that I can do about it even before my line manager comes to ask me? What is it that I can do within my own function that I can prefer as a solution to my manager before they're even thinking about it? Those are the things that really helped me.
okay. Now, technology is changing how we work. Bukola, what's happening on the ground? How do you think AI and the new tech are changing the business operations right now?
Well, I would say in terms of operations, technology is changing virtually everything across different industry, healthcare, finance, supply chain, retail. It is literally everywhere, even the creative industry. And I think it is shaping operations in the sense that the shift means that businesses can do more with less. So that means they're able to reduce waste. They are able to save time, which helps them to save money in the process, right? And that also helps them to increase, profitability, all while, delivering that better customer experience. So for leaders, I see AI shaping the way leaders make decisions, because now leaders would want to make more data informed decisions as opposed to before where it could be maybe more sentimental. So right now, data is readily available to us just by the click of a button or just prompting AI to do certain things. You already have the data, and that helps you to make um, you know, informed decisions. So AI is helping with that real time analytics. I remember when I was analyzing customer data, for instance, I would do that towards the end of the month. Maybe I want to analyze the net promoter survey to be able to tell if our customers would recommend our service to a friend or a family. I would need to wait until I gather all of the data at the end of the month, and then I will analyze manually with my Excel sheet, and then present it to the executives. But now everything is automated. So you can get real time customer sentiments that will help you to make proactive solutions. You can prefer proactive solutions to the customer, right? So AI is also shaping the way we are more agile as business leaders. So we are also adaptable to changes as well because we are learning every day. Strategies are changing. So, of course, it's bringing that continuous professional development. And then one of the big areas that I think AI would really shape how operations and leadership is today is in the area of ethics, ethical and responsible AI. I believe you've also heard of that. So I believe that it would be a priority for leaders because it's important that leaders are thinking ahead based on what AI is able to do for businesses. Now, there are benefits, there are also risks. And it's important that if you're a leader and you also influencing the AI models that are being built, that it should be done with transparency. It should be done with that fairness in the automation that you are building. So in a nutshell, I think that AI is empowering leaders to be able to make smarter decisions and it's also enabling operations to be able to run with unprecedented precision and a lot of speed.
Right. So earlier you said that nowadays we can get real-time data about customer sentiment with the help of AI. So, like from a student's perspective, and they want to be a founder, right? They want to start a company. Customer sentiment is one of the important thing. So, how do you get it? Like, I'm sure that there are different tools, AI tools and all. But can you please lay out the process in which founders or teams can use?
So right now, even without and I'm just trying to say that because not everybody is still um, welcoming of the concept of AI. There's certain people that are still skeptical, but that doesn't change the fact that they want to be able to start a business. When it comes to customers, you're able to reach out to them in different means. And one of the ways that businesses will do that effectively is through social media channels, because a lot of customers are on social media. People in general are on social media. So your customers, your ideal customers, are on social media. But before you even get there, when it comes to sentiments, before you're able to get the sentiments or know who your customers are, you need to determine one, who they are. If you're able to know who your customers are, then you would know where you can find them. If,
Yes.
for instance, your customers are children, you would know that you probably will not find them on TikTok yet. That's if they're babies, right? So when you know that, okay, this is my customer profile, maybe between the ages of 18 to 25, then you know that the likely channel that you will probably get their sentiment about your product will be on platforms like TikTok, platforms like Instagram, maybe for the older generation, perhaps Facebook. So it is possible to get sentiment analysis even from there about your product or your service. And then these days, with the power of automation, WhatsApp has become a very effective tool, especially because not everybody would be on the popular social media channels that we know, but you would find people on WhatsApp. And, with the automation, it has made it so easy to be able to interact with bots, with robots. And from there, you can just say, okay, I'm happy about your service, or I'm upset because you did not deliver on time. So yeah, for businesses, I would say one of the very effective ways, cost-effective ways will be leveraging the social media channels. And then of course, when it comes to customer experience and the sentiments you have, there's so many tools out there that would be able to give you real time. You have Qualtrics, you have SurveyMonkey, and there are a whole lot more that have come up now that are really powered by AI. So leveraging tools and social media is the best way.
And we talked about AI ethics, right? That how we are training the AI data right now, it will affect the future. Can you elaborate on that? Like, it is a very interesting subject because nowadays everyone is like the big tech is trying training AI, right? Be it OpenAI, be it Gemini and all. So I want your opinion on that.
I would try to tackle that in the best way that I can, especially because I'm not an engineer. I'm not an NLP specialist. But what you're saying is right. What is going on right now is that there are lots of development of AI models, and people are training their bots, training you're having lots of AI agents, and that is because businesses are naturally wired to think about cost-effective solutions. So right now, people are thinking, how can I make more money with limited resources, right? So limited human power. And so people are self teaching themselves about how to build this bot. Problem that we have there is that while there are regulations that are coming up and laws around, ethical practices, it is not moving in the pace. It is not moving as fast as the excitement is about what AI can do, about Google View, the deep fakes. A lot of people are excited about it. And you hear about one invention today, tomorrow you hear, oh, no, not this one again. This one is doing something better. If only we were talking about the ethical side as exciting as we're talking about the inventions, I believe, would be making progress. It is important that as businesses, if we are building this AI models, that we focused on building it fairly, right? So if you are prompting a tool, or if you are whatever it is that you are feeding the system, the model, it needs to be able to think about all possible scenarios and be very inclusive in its framework. And one of the ways that you can do that as a business is to come up with checkmates or frameworks that would help your developers to ask themselves certain questions. Maybe if they get to a certain stage of developing the model, ask themselves, was I transparent in this area? Does this model cater to children? Does it also consider Asians? Does this consider the white people? Are you being fair in this area? Those checks and balances help to build a model that is considered to be fair. So that is a subject that we need to be promoting. We need to be talking about, and business leaders need to be training their AI specialists and AI leaders about.
Like from the perspective of AI ethics only, I think I have heard that there was an AI which specialized in hiring, but due to the data which was fed into it, it was more biased towards men.
Mm,
So like we have to look into that and we have to make sure that it is inclusive.
exactly, exactly. And that's why it's important that we do not leave the building of this AI to just the engineers, just the ones who are technical. Everybody needs to be involved. If engineers or whoever, the AI specialists, are building a model for HR management, HR leaders with their years of experience need to be able to test these models before it is launched. And they would now be able to determine that, oh, it's bias in this area. Oh, this is what you need to consider rather than this. Instead of just leaving people with their own mentality or their own mindset to build things. Yeah, everybody needs to be involved in.
Okay, now there are so much layoffs right now. Like in India only, one company laid off around 12,000 employees, and it is a lot. Like they are mostly managerial roles, right? Which are costly to the company, and they can hire a new person and train them in AI so that they can do much more work. So, can you please elaborate on that? Like how in now this day and age, what are the skills that we need to know if one should want to be a good employee, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, with this question that you ask, it just takes me back to a few years ago, even during the COVID, when I, was conducting the survey about the kind of roles that will be relevant in, years to come. And I remember then I could just see, data scientists, engineers, developers, that is the skill, cybersecurity experts, that's the skill that you need to be able to thrive in the future. But who knew that artificial intelligence would be, changing things around, that even the software engineers, product managers are now, feeling like I don't have what's the future for me here?
Yes.
So it's really scary. I would say it's even more scary for people who do not come from technical backgrounds, because if for instance you are a software developer, it's very easy for you to just set up your own business, and these days AI has made it so easy to set up your business. You have artificial intelligence that handles everything, including building a website for you, and then if you know code, then of course you can get into the deeper side of the back end of your website and figure it out by yourself. So what I've always been saying is that anybody who wants to be able to thrive in this time that we're in, where AI is literally, even though it's, increasing efficiency, but there are jobs that are at stake, professionals need to be able to understand how to align strategy operations so that they can rise quickly. Strategy is what is going to, you know, move people forward, because yes, and suggest it can handle the mundane tasks. It can also prefer or recommend certain strategies, but you would also need humans there who would feed it, humans who would actually do the strategic thinking. It is based on the human strategic thinking that they're able to feed the data. I mean, feed the models, and the models can then bring back something that would be beneficial to the business. So people who were just all about being individual contributors, for instance, you now need to start thinking about the business in its entirety and how you fit in, how you can be more strategic in your execution of your role. And if you are technical, I would say one of the areas that would be very beneficial at this time, even if you're not technical, even as an operational person, is knowing how to integrate artificial intelligence into the workflows Right now, that is what businesses are trying to do. How can I immediately embed AI into my workflow so that I don't have to hire so many people, so that I can be as efficient as possible, so that my customer experience can be, at the top. So if you understand how to integrate artificial intelligence into those workflows, it's going to help you because you're going to be driving significant efficiency. You would be able to automate tools and interpret data for businesses. So that's one area. I would also say being very versatile, and that's difficult. But for people who are in operations, that's not so difficult. To be able to thrive in this era that we're in, you need to be somebody who can do a bit of everything. Because what's happening now is that you have businesses or founders who are solo. They are riding solo. So they are building their businesses and they don't have the intention of hiring a team, maybe just at most one person. So everybody is thinking, how can I just do this thing on my own, or maybe just have 2 or 3 people? And so you need to be somebody who has the skills, especially if you are in operations, have a bit of certain skills, understand HR, understand recruitment, understand a bit of finance, understand customer experience, understand supply chain management a bit. When you have all of those skills, then you can be tagged as somebody who is able to figure things out. And if you're that person who is able to figure things out, that means you'll be someone who is indispensable. So I think, yeah, those are the ways to just stand out. Be more strategic, being able to integrate your AI into workflows, and just having that versatile skill.
That's a great answer. Like as a student, I'm currently doing engineering, computer engineering.
Okay.
Right. So I'm always looking into different AIs which are upcoming AIs, right? Because the coding which I'm right now learning, it is very basic and AI can do it just like that. So AI, like everyone should definitely research about AI and all the different tools and technologies which are coming, and I feel that it will be really helpful to them.
I agree with you.
Growing beyond your home country brings the new challenges. So tell us about your time you launched into a new country and hit an unexpected roadblock. How did you solve it?
Well, I moved into the UK a few years ago, and I moved in for my master's. And of course, I did that with the intention of advancing my career because I wanted to advance in operations management. And I always love, the concept of leadership, effective leadership. So I decided to study business leadership and management. I felt that that would be great, especially because my passion is for helping people, professionals, and helping businesses to be better. As simple as that. So I went for that course. And of course, roadblock. Well, I think there were a number of roadblocks. My master's degree alone, because I did that and I was pregnant. So having to do your course, your master's degree at the same time, having a baby. When I had my baby, I was now working on my project research. So you can imagine you have sleepless nights because your baby is awake at night, but at the same time, you need to be able to write your project within a certain deadline. It was tough, but to summarize it, it's good to have a supportive partner. There were definitely roadblocks there. But I would say one of the ways that I did that, you said you're a student, right? Good. So let me just, hopefully you can relate to this. When you are writing your project, you have a deadline to meet, right? But the good thing is that here it is possible that you can even extend that, but not as many times as you would want. And I didn't even want to extend it, but it got to the point where I needed to extend it just for my own mental health and for me to be able to deliver a good project. And when I saw that um, waking up at night to do my research wasn't working because the baby would be up and I would fall asleep, I'm tired. I had to negotiate with my partner to say, we, compromise in certain areas. So I had to start going to the library to do my projects so that he would help to take care of the baby and then I'll be back maybe in a few hours. So that helped. And that is strategy. So sometimes certain ways of doing things may not be working. You may find a roadblock somewhere, but you don't just continue at it and think that that's the only way. Always think about a better way or a different way to approach something. And of course, that was how I was able to complete my project in good time. And then I submitted, and thankfully I had a distinction. Yeah, so that was the roadblock. But I think even after that, graduating, there is always that roadblock of being in a new country, because there's so many limitations that you wouldn't have had if you were in your own country. Even as little as opening a bank account is a limitation. There's roadblock there. You need to be able to prove, if you want to open a bank account, then you have to have a valid address, all of those things. So of course there are definitely roadblocks there. Looking for a job, a major roadblock. You're coming from a different country, but when you are applying for jobs, you're expected to have certain experience in that country. So whatever it is that you may have done in your home country for the last 10 years or whatever, it does not matter. So it's more like you're starting from scratch. You may be a professor where you are, you're coming here. Sometimes you're able to, even attain higher levels from when you were in your home country. But there are also times where you need to basically start from the scratch. So of course, it's just understanding the country that you are operating in, that you are now living in, and making sure that you are networking with. Where I had roadblocks when it came to looking for a new job, I started to network, but networking was not only the reason that was not only because I needed a job. I needed to be able to integrate with the people in the system. I needed to understand the city better. And so I leveraged networking, and that has really changed how things are for me. So whenever there's a roadblock, it tells you that there is a way, but you just need to be able to figure out what that way, and that might mean speaking to people who are maybe more experienced than you, more exposed than you, and they can help you.
Cool. Okay. How do you keep teams on the same page when they are spread across different cultures and time zones?
Well, that's one of the challenges of remote working. Well, thankfully, technology has made remote working really a good experience compared to before, right? But in order to keep people on the same level, it starts from the top. It starts from the top with communication. So when I say the top, I'm talking about the leaders. Leaders actually doing what they say, right? Whatever it is that they're promising that they actually do. So you need to get to the level where your team members are able to tell what you as a leader would likely say, even before you say it. That if a customer is upset, for instance, your team members know that that issue needs to be solved before my line manager knows about it, because this is how they are going to react to it. And for them to be able to tell how a CEO or a manager would react, then they need to be able to understand your communication style. That means you need to be communicating with them. So what really helps people to be on the same page is communicating the vision of the organization. What is the company doing? What is their mission? The people on your team need to know what the mission is as a company and also as a team. If you are in the operations team, there will also be a different mission per se for the operations. The mission of the operations team will be different from the mission of the software development team. But everybody on that team need to understand, and it takes that communication. There are times where people may not, because they are from different cultures, they would misinterpret what a team member may be saying, right? And it is the responsibility of a manager to be proactive, to know when there are certain issues within the team and try to bring people together to resolve it. So the major thing is communication. And one of the ways that we're able to make communication more effective is through the use of tools. Technology has made it easy. So now you have platforms that enable workflows to be seamless. You have project management workflows. I'm not going to mention some because I'm not going to mention anyone, but of course, there's so many workflows that you can use, project management workflows, CRMs that can just help everybody be on the same page, internal communication tools. I mean, so a tool like Slack is very popular. A lot of organizations use that. And then, of course, even likes of Microsoft and 365, they have tools that just help everybody to be on the same page. A major thing is having one-on-one conversations with your team, especially because right now operations or way of working is remote. So you don't really get to see your colleagues physically. One person is in India, another person is in UK, another one is in China, So are you going to be waiting every year until you have like company retreats or something before you actually have conversations? You just need to check in on your team I want to check in on, you and say, how are you doing today? Are you good? Everything good? Is there anything that you want to run by me? Is there anything that you maybe sent to me that I have missed out on? Just 5 minutes check can do a lot in making people be on the same page. So communication is the key.
Now, what's a personal experience drives your passion for building a fair and inclusive workplace?
Can you repeat the question?
Any personal experience that drives your passion for building a fair and inclusive workplace?
Personal experience. I think maybe because of my background where I was born. I'll just tell a very short story. Not really a story anyway. I'm proudly Nigerian, right? So I come from Nigeria and I was born in a small town in Nigeria called Zaria.
Zaria.
Zaria is a city that is in the northern part of Nigeria. Nigeria has a population of over 200 million, not nearly as many as India, but it's still a lot of people. And then you have ethnic groups, cultures of over 200. So imagine a country where they're speaking over 200 different languages. And then the city where I was born called Zaria. So even though you have Nigeria and you have different ethnic groups, those different ethnic groups are in like split into 6 geographical locations in that country. But that small town called Zaria, it's like a mini Nigeria. So you would find virtually all the ethnic groups in that city. So it helped me when I grew up there, it helped me to appreciate different cultures. It helped me to appreciate different religions. You had the Christians, you had the Muslims, right? And we're all living in harmony. When it's time for Salah, as a Christian, you're expecting to receive the Salah meat, the ram, and all of that. If it's Christmas, the Muslims are expecting to receive Christmas chicken and all of that from the Christians. So it really helped me to appreciate diversity, cultural diversity, religious diversity. So when I see people that even though we are Nigerians together, but we're from different languages, I'm seeing you more as a Nigerian, not that you are from a different tribe. So that really helped me to appreciate diversity. And also because when you're working in operations, you work in cross-functional teams. So you're interacting with different people in different teams. That means different skills, different way of doing things. So that really helped me to be able to appreciate diversity.
All right. What can student founders do right away to make their teams more inclusive, even without a formal HR?
So one of the ways is by hiring. Let's assume that the founder still wants to hire somebody, right? That doesn't necessarily it doesn't necessarily have to be an HR specialist. Just remember, like I said, that the future of work now is somebody who is versatile, somebody who is able to do a little of everything. And that's where operations really thrives because as an operations person, you're able to work as an HR specialist, finance, you're able to do all of that. You're able to onboard your employees, you're able to train them. So if I'm to advise any founder who is trying to build but is just starting and really wants to stay as lean as possible, is to hire on a fractional level. So what tends to happen now is many organizations are hiring fractional employees, fractional staff. So when you say fractional, is somebody who is very experienced in their role, but is not necessarily a permanent staff. So that person can work with you maybe for 6 months to help you set up certain things. And you will not necessarily pay that person as much as you would pay a full-time staff because maybe things like certain benefits are not part of it. So that's one of the ways that a founder can work on that. So if you hire, for instance, somebody who is an operations staff, somebody who understands HR, that can help bring the team together. Because it's important that you are not just using tools to bridge communication or to make a team inclusive. That's not going to happen. It's going to work against you. The human side of work still needs to be there. And it's important that you have expert professionals that can think strategically, that are empathetic and can understand people. So you have people that have that people management skills that can bring your team together. align them on the vision of the organization. So that's my advice. If you want to be able to build inclusive teams and you're able to hire somebody who is versatile, who is specialized, handling different functions, including HR. But if you decide that I don't want to hire anybody, but I still want an inclusive team, then that means you are going to be doing the work of the HR. That means you need to be present. You need to be able to communicate your vision. You need to be able to hire strategically, hire people who can set the ball rolling even when you are not there. Right? And just making sure that that communication, there is no gap at any point in time.
Got it. Now, you also host a podcast and advise many startups. What inspired you to start Business Backstage, and what have you learned from it till now?
Well, I have always wanted to be able to do this podcast. And that's because by nature, I love to impact. I love to teach. I love to share knowledge. So if I know something, I don't like to just keep it to myself. I want to be able to share it, whether it's through LinkedIn or Instagram or through podcasts. And because I have worked in the operations space and the startup space for so long, I understand that I've worked with so many great people that are not necessarily founders, but they helped to build the businesses to become, the good businesses, the successful businesses that they are. And those employees, those former colleagues that I had before are now doing great things with, multinational organizations. They're doing really good. And I just keep on thinking that there is so much that these people have that is just there, right? And needs to come out, needs to be shared with people, needs to be shared with other people that can benefit. The reason I started Business Backstage is because we are in an era where it is very easy. Like the process of starting a business has been democratized, right? It's very easy for anybody. I mean, when was it on LinkedIn? Recently, I saw a 13-year-old started a business, right? And he seems really serious and passionate about it, which is great. That's what is going to happen. You're going to see 8 years old children that are building businesses with products that are actually needed by people ever. It is a business. It is a company that you are running, which means that there needs to be the right frameworks, the right foundation to set up that business. So we're entering an era where it's very easy to set up a business, but the knowledge, the skills on how to make your business sustainable, on how to build the right foundations, to manage your teams, to set up the systems and all of that to help you to scale, it's not necessarily there because there is that lack of knowledge. So Business Backstage is bridging that gap to help those early founders that are coming up with their businesses. They have the idea, they have the skills to build their product, but not necessarily the strategic, foundations and frameworks that would help them to be sustainable. So I usually invite expert professionals across different fields. Let's talk about marketing. Let's talk about finance. Let's talk about HR, whatever it is. Learnings would help both the founders. It would also help professionals in those different fields to be better in their business dealings. And I'm just hoping that, it can really get to impact people. I hope that the podcast can help to build a generation of young business leaders and professionals who are not just winging the business, but they are building very confidently. They're confident in what they're building because of maybe the strategies, the smart business decisions, because of the mistakes and the practical frameworks that they were able to learn from conversations on Business Backstage podcast.
I'm sure that it will help a lot of people, and I will personally I'm a part of startup, and I will definitely suggest our founders and in my university as well to different students that they should listen to it.
Definitely, it will be really helpful for them.
If a student has a big dream but no money, what steps should they take?
You have a big dream and you don't have money, I'm assuming that it's a business dream. First thing I would say is to write it down. Write down because a lot of business ideas and concepts are stuck in people's heads. And that's how it gets lost, especially when you get overwhelmed with how can I possibly achieve this? So the first thing that you should do is to write it down. Because when you write it down, it helps you to process your thoughts. And then you start to even think about possible, more ideas. And it is also possible that solutions will start to come even from there. When you have written everything down, you don't have money, but you have people, humans. So it's always good to be able to share that idea with trusted friends or mentors. So I would always encourage people to establish relationships. What tends to happen is when you are studying as a student, you're so consumed in your coursework that you're not thinking about the future so much. So you're not really building the relationships that you need to be able to build to help you when you leave school. So now things are happening a lot faster. So it's important that even as a student, you are proactive, build relationships, connect with people. LinkedIn is a good start. And you don't really need to know somebody personally to be able to run your business idea with them. So when you find somebody who is trusted, share that idea, and they can start to help you to figure out ways that you can start to take certain action even without money. You understand? So write it down and then leverage either mentorship or talk to somebody who is trusted. And then they would also help you to be able to figure things out. If you say you don't have money, I'm hoping that you would have at least internet, because internet can really help you to source for cost, effective tools that can help you to at least see something. So for instance, you have a business idea. It's like, oh my God, how am I going to run this thing? There's some free tools that you can use that you just need to prompt them. They're powered by AI, and just tell that tool your business idea, and immediately they can help you to build a website, right? So when you use a tool, so for instance, a tool like Lovable will help you to build a website. That would help you to, when you see that the idea that I had is already looking alive, that really excites you and it makes you want to take further action. And then any little money that you have, you're putting it aside for certain things that you need to do for your business. So I'm hoping that at least the person has internet, because if you have internet, then you have it.
All right, now quick tips: one book, one tool, and one daily habit every new founder should try.
One book, one
Tool, and one daily habit.
One book, one tool, and one daily habit. The one book I would say, and I hope it's not cliche, it can't even be cliche because, I mean, this is first book that founders should be able to read would be by Eric Rice, which is the Lean Startup. Lean Startup, right? Exactly, by Eric Rice. That really would help you to think about how to set up your business in cost-effective ways. Unfortunately, many founders sometimes they just think about getting the funding and then going all out, hiring and spending money on marketing and all of that. But when you read that book from the beginning, it helps you to think strategically. It helps you to think lean from the start, and you come up with strategies that you can stay lean as long as possible. That's a book. Habits.
One tool and one habit.
One tool and one habit.
Yes.
For founders.
Yes.
Tool, I would say LinkedIn, or what's the other one? Trying to remember it, but the main one will be LinkedIn. And that helps you to build your personal brand. Let's even forget your company, first of all. Before your company, you are a brand. So it's important that you build your personal brand through platforms like LinkedIn, because the greatest marketer of any product will be the person that is building it. You would not expect your employees to market your product as better than you. And one of the platforms that can help you do that will be on, platforms like LinkedIn. But for you to get there in the first place, you need to build a personal brand. You need to become somebody who is credible and trusted, so that when you start to advertise your product, then it becomes easy for people to buy into whatever it is that you are selling. So the tool, LinkedIn. And then habits, I would say daily habit would be documentation. Document everything that you are doing. Document everything. That's why I said, when you asked me that question, I said, write it down. That's the first thing. That's documenting already. So document every process, every step that you're taking in building, every decision that you're making, document it, because it would always be helpful to be able to trace gaps, trace errors, trace the wins, what worked, what did not work. When you're trying to iterate, those are the things that would also help you to be better.
Before we go, Bukola, what's the one major challenge you see for global startups in the next decade, and how can founders prepare now?
Challenge that I see in the next decade. and how they can prepare now? That's a very interesting question. The challenge that I see, I think what I foresee happening in the near future is that we're going to have a lot of startups that are built, just by one person. And so it's going to be, the operations are going to be just with little hands. So you would find a lot of businesses that are singly run. So you would have maybe just a founder building a business and just running with it. Or you would have the founder and maybe just one or two employees. I foresee that the challenge would be in communication and building a culture that thrives on effective communication. So what I foresee happening is that we're going to have everything being done by automation, literally everything that can be done by automation. So you would have founders that would build businesses that even though they can hire somebody. So let's take, for instance, they want to hire an employee. All of that process is going to be done by automation. Whether the founder is there or not, that employee is going to go through the process of recruitment where they are answering interview questions with a bot, and the hiring process, everything will be done through automation. And the onboarding process, the founder would not even need to be there because the workflow is already set up for the onboarding process. So an employee can actually start a new job and never get to interact with anybody in the company. And they will take up that job because of the offer, because of the package. What you would find is because many organizations are going very lean, it makes them save more money. That means they're able to pay the few people that they have on their team a whole lot more. So a lot of people will not really think about certain things before they accept an offer. And they'll go through the process of recruitment, hiring, onboarding, training, everything being done by automation, by bots. That even when it comes to having meetings, everything can be done by bots. Because now we have meetings where your AI note taker is there to help you summarize the meetings. You have avatars that you can use that even if you're not present in the meeting, your avatar would be talking like you are there. So you would find that AI is taking over everything, and the interaction, that human connection, is sliding away. And initially, it may feel like, oh, this is a great idea. I mean, it's good. But with time, that starts to bring about isolation. So people in companies, they start to feel isolated. And of course, that starts to bring about mental challenges because that human connection is lost. So I foresee that there will be a challenge in that area. And that's why even though we are trying to promote automation to make things more efficient, we need to also make sure that there is that balance between automation and human connection. The founders need to be able to make room for psychological safety so that even when you hire an AI specialist to help you to build AI models, even if they see bias in the models that they're building, they can feel free to tell you, the CEO, or tell their manager that sense that there is a bias here. They're not scared that they will lose their jobs. As a founder, you need to be able to create that environment where people feel free enough to talk about things that are, not going right in the system or in the culture. So I foresee that that's likely to happen, where there is that communication gap if we do not balance AI and human connection.
Pretty cool. And thank you so much for telling us your insights. I'm extremely grateful. And listeners, check out Bukola on LinkedIn and tune in to Business Backstage for more insider tips. Up until next time on Mindscape Expansion. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Awesome.